Franco Prosperi. How about that? This same exhibit opened April 27th at the Museum of the History of Religion in St. Petersburg. Now, I've prepared a few notes for tonight that I'd like to go over with you.
Is it connected to Trump?
Just a minute. Just a few notes. They don't like it, do they? Kurt Schmidt thinks I'm very funny. I just got to keep trying. All right. So much for you. Too many notes. All right. Franco Prosperi is an artist that Jeannie and I met in Assisi, Italy several years ago. And when he found out that we're from New Harmony, he surprised us by saying that he was aware of New Harmony and that he's a fan of Robert Owen, which just kind of floored us. And Franco has donated exhibits to the library before. The one that's on exhibit right now upstairs was given to us a couple of years ago. And last year, Franco told us that he was preparing this exhibit, which is Carl Jung illustrations, that he was going to ask permission to exhibit here and in St. Petersburg with the hope of promoting peace between the two countries. So that's very nice, and we're all in favor of that. But I got to thinking about, all right, so we got Franco Prosperi, who's an Italian artist, speaks broken English. He's a fan of Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist. He loves San Francesco, St. Francis of Assisi, but he's also a fan of Robert Owen. And so I was thinking that is odd that those three people would be in his, can you move it on? Thanks. All right, that's Carl Jung. Carl Jung is a Swiss psychiatrist. He's a contemporary of Sigmund Freud. When I worked in the mental health business, I did work with psychologists and psychiatrists that were Freudians. I didn't work with any that were Jungians. Although Jung is given a lot of credit for his analysis and study of the personality. Anybody ever heard of the Myers-Briggs personality test? He's given credit for helping develop that test that businesses use to determine what kind of personality somebody has. Jung, like Freud, divided the personality into like three main areas. And this information I'm giving you is according to a man named Saul McLeod, who wrote an article in the magazine Simply Psychology in 2014. Anyway, Jung thought of the psyche as having an ego, which are our thoughts, memories, and the emotions that we are aware of. Then he also talked about the personal unconscious, which are all of the thoughts, memories, feelings, experiences that we have temporarily forgotten, but they're still with us. And there's really nothing controversial about those two theories of the personality. However, his third part of the personality is what sets him out as different, called the collective unconscious. And Jung said that he believes that all humans are connected unconsciously, we're not aware of it, but that we have an unconscious connection to all other humans that is the product of evolution. And it contains hidden memories from our ancestral and evolutionary past. And we're born with it. And it's kind of amazing, but he believes he can prove it through an examination of the symbols that different cultures use to express different parts of the personality. He sees similarities in these symbols. He's talking about things like the fear of the dark or fear of snakes. But he's also talking about the important subsystems of the personality that he called archetypes. And perhaps you've heard of Jung and his study of archetypes. He thought of four main archetypes, and archetypes are shared by all humans. not just the ones in the West, but all humans. And the first main archetype that he suggested is called the persona. That's the mask that we present to the world. It conceals our real self. Then he talked about the anima and animus part of the personality. For a man, it would be the female side of the man, and for a woman, it would be the male side of the man. And that's where he thought there was a lot of struggle for individuals, because we are taught to deny the part of our personality of the opposite sex. Women are not supposed to show their masculine side, and men are not supposed to show their feminine side. Another archetype that he identifies is called the shadow, and that is the destructive and creative part. Now, if you studied Freud, you might remember he talked about the id, which is the part of our personality that is just our primal urges. And the shadow is similar to that, and it was necessary, perhaps, for us to survive at one time. And then the fourth archetype is the self, which provides a sense of unity and experience. And he believes that we all are striving for selfhood. He thinks our problems stem from our alienations from this instinctual foundation. And what I think is important is that he says that the collective unconscious is instinctive. It's a part of us, shared by all humans. And some people think of it as mysterious, some people think of it as godlike, some force that we all share, and that we're all working towards the same goal of selfhood. Franco illustrates, this work that Franco Prosperi has done, illustrates what he calls the labyrinth of the collective unconscious, kind of a maze of collective unconscious. And we're going to look at some slides here, and then when we open the exhibit, you can see there are 46 slides with interpretation that you can look at your leisure. But we'll look at a few of them now. But you'll see that Franco takes some major events in our history as humans to depict this becoming self. For example, fire, agriculture, cooperative working. And Jung suggests that all of those behaviors are biologically selected, Darwinianly biologically selected. Okay, so that's Jung in a 25-second nutshell. All right, San Francesco, St. Francis of Assisi. What the heck's he got to do with this? Franco Prosperi lives in Assisi. He's a Catholic. He loves San Francisco. If you know about him, he lived around 1200 AD. He led a movement when he got his insight. He led a movement that he wanted to live as Christ. He wanted to live life as a beggar. He celebrated the natural beauty of the world. He did not see the value of possessions. He gave, as a matter of fact, when he decided to go into his ministry, there's kind of a famous legend that his father, who was a wealthy merchant in Assisi, traded in fabrics. And St. Francis, or Francesco, took all of his clothes off in the public square and gave them back to his father and walked out of town naked. That caused a stir. Now, there's a controversy, though. We always thought that happened in Assisi. But when Jeannie and I traveled recently to a little nearby town called Foligno, there's a little plaque down there that said, this is where it happened. So I'm not sure where it happened. But that's the story, anyway, that St. Francis gave all of his earthly possessions and walked out of town naked. San Francisco believed that God connects all human beings and everything else. And I think if you think about Jung with his collective unconscious, it's a similar thought that we are all connected through some force that we don't really have a choice of. That's a part of us. Robert Owen, he's our guy. And what the heck does he have to do with this? Because Franco, as I said, was a fan of Robert Owen. Well, think about it. Robert Owen's an atheist. But he believed in cooperation, egalitarianism, common good, non-materialism. He believed, I think, that you could say that he believed that we are good or could be good if we share the resources and the treasures of the earth. So if we look at all three of them, you know, Jung with his collective unconscious, which some people think is his statement of the presence of a mysterious, powerful force that connects us all. St. Francis, who believes in the God of Christendom, and Robert Owen, who believed in the power of people being kind to each other. I think that we can understand Franco's inspiration to like these three men, and the reason that he likes the idea of opening this presentation here in New Harmony. So, we're going to look at a few slides. Like I said, there are 46 slides that are on display. We're just going to look at a couple of them here. Now, this is the opening slide, Jung, and you'll see that there are some interpretations for you to read. But this is inspired by the illustration created by Jung, man receiving the light. Now, when Ryan and I were looking at this earlier, you see a snake. So there's certainly a Judeo-Christian symbolism there. And the light illuminating the man, and perhaps it's filling him with the collective unconscious. That's one interpretation. It also could be a neighboring village spearing this guy because they want to get the snake. Could be that too. But let's move on to the next one. Like I said, Jung contemplated the labyrinth of the collective unconscious. And this is Franco Prosperi's interpretation of The Origin of the Species by Charles Darwin. As you can see, there are different animals walking on all fours, walking upright, and evolving into where we are today. Moving on, this one is a recognition of the age of our species. This age, is like 2.5 million to 11,000 years before that we were evolving as a species. Next is Franco's understanding of the beginning of collective or cooperating work with humans. And you can see humans working together to harvest wood. Next is beginning of the arts and drama and theater and expression of feeling. Next is the labyrinth of contemporary times with our buildings and people, millions of people. And then the last slide of the exhibit, perhaps the most open, is us reaching for the stars, cooperative. Franco asked us to tell you that he hopes you enjoy his exhibit. And And like I said at the beginning, it's his hope that when you study this exhibit and read the interpretations that have been put together by our director, Ryan Kicki, these were written in Italian, translated by Ryan with the help of Google, and they're quite good. And take some time and look at them, because I think you'll find them interesting. This is a really neat exhibit. We're glad you're here. And last, before we go upstairs, can you show us the Russian thing? We have some footage of the Russian thing. And Ryan and I will attempt, we've been working on a Russian translation. And we'll try to interpret for you.
Необычная выставка открылась в Музее истории и религии. Карл Юнг в иллюстрациях Франко Проспери. Современный итальянский художник, скульптор и философ Франко Проспери предлагает на суд зрителя компьютерную графику, отображенную на полотнах с помощью высококачественной цифровой печати.
Это частное прочтение, взгляд художника, который действительно обобщает вещи, совершенно далекие друг от друга. Как, собственно, и философия Юнга, она обобщает действительно все и вся своим коллективным бессознательным.
Полюбоваться переплетением современных технологий и художественных методов для отображения постулатов основоположника аналитической психологии можно в Музее истории и религии до 20 мая.
So that was a little news thing from St. Petersburg. And now we would ask that everybody kind of come upstairs so Ryan can cut the ribbon for him.
Well, I'm very pleased to open up this exhibit on Franco Prosperi, Carl Jung in illustrations. And even with an exhibit component this small, there are a few people we need to thank. Of course, Jeremy from Jung, who provided funding for this through his donation earlier, or late last year. Of course, Jeannie and Nathan Maudlin, who do the legwork going to Italy and talking to Mr. Prosperi and fostering those relationships. Of course, the volunteers, Dan Bollinger, Dan Bussler, who helped mount the television and clean everything up. So I hope you're pleased with what you see here. This is the kind of art exhibit that we don't normally see. It's not just art on the wall, it's in digital format. So see, there's a little wall space. I hope you will enjoy it. I would like to declare this exhibit open.
Follow along with these booklets.
Okay.
Did you see the
Yeah, it looks good. No, I'm going to sneak back this way. Yeah, we're dancing.
Yeah, sit down.
Just see if I can find those things here.
Kind of looks like a Dr. Seuss right now to me a little bit, doesn't it? Like the places you will go.
Right.
Does it
Yes, it
remind you of
does.
that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the idea of the one what they sent in Russia, that's what he had in mind for us to have a much larger museum. And they were set to be about that size, and we didn't have the space.
I heard the story of the collective unconscious.
Email it to us. It is on there.
It is. That one's cool.
Symbolic image of the collective unconscious inspired by the illustrations created by Carl Jung.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is beginning of the history of the labyrinth of the collective unconscious.
Yeah, Jung thought of the unconscious as a labyrinth, just going all different directions. But ending in one place.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's in the center where it's a maze.
This is another labyrinth.
Yeah. That picture of St. Francis was the most accurate, like was the painting that's in one of the churches.
The labyrinth of it, but I got the collective people together, moving a similar direction. History of the labyrinth. There's a lot of
Yeah, there's one for music and theater.
This looks like cave drawings.
seriously inspired by the era of observing the behavior of animal species.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
This one is inspired by the birth of the collective life and the spread of the human species.
Louder, please. It's good. Cheer.
The birth of the collective life and the spread of the human species. It's sort of like the Bible's Tower of Babel.
That would be great.
History of the labyrinth, inspired by the age of awareness and the magical powers of nature.
So the elephants were illustrating awareness and
Well, they do have their own collective.
yes, elephants have incredible.
This
And
is
maybe that's the
inspired by
Supreme
the era of domestication of animals.
Okay. Yeah, the main figure in the back is bringing the people in,
Yeah.
corralling the horses.
This is inspired by the era of hunting and nomadic life for survival. Around and collect.
I'm trying to figure out what the one thing was.
This one is inspired by the age of animal breeding.
Look at that little black sheep in it.
I want to represent everybody. That's a Judas goat, maybe.
Yeah.
This one is inspired by the origin of the myth.
The myth?
Yeah, the man.
Mythology, religion.
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh. In various sizes and,
This one's inspired by the concept of collective work.
okay, what I don't understand is the little doobie to the right.
I don't know.
Collective work, what, circles of.
Like
It's a sign.
It's a
Time clock, yeah.
Ooh, that one's cool.
This one,
Bridge to the
picture inspired by Ramayana, the journey of Rama, history of the Prince of Rama and the beautiful Sita, epic poem of the Hindu mythology. This one is inspired by the era of construction of stilt houses, not stilt.
That makes more sense. That's so. Yeah, that's interesting.
This one's inspired by the epic of the origin of the trilogic structure of the dolmen and the beginning of the construction of the oldest cities.
See him holding that.
Agriculture too,
This is inspired by the era of agriculture.
which started the cities.
Exactly. Exactly. And started war.
Probably.
To protect your resources.
And
Yeah, absolutely. Inspired by the age of mythology, the archaic Greek civilizations. The next one is the origin of theater.
Yeah, we saw that.
The next one will be medieval legends and sagas, which I can see. At the dragon. We went to China just recently in January, and their dragons spit water. That's how their culture has changed. And their forbidden city is, we've got a bunch of gargoyles that spit water, or water spouts that come out from the plaza, yeah.
Education?
This is inspired by the era of invention in the art of printing.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I bet there's good water if you don't mind.
Inspired by the invention of cannons and gunpowder in the West.
Yes.
Okay.
War.
Dark side. Yeah.
The next is the era of steam engine.
We saw
hearing style to it. He really does. The next one is inspired by the time of exploitation of the oil fields.
Oh, yeah, sure is.
And the following will be inspired by contemporary times.
It's not burning.
Crowding,
Elevated tall buildings.
overpopulation. The next one is a modern electronic circuit board. The sort of those of mobile phones. That is not.
I was
sure
gonna
where
say,
it shows there. This is inspired by the era of contemporary labyrinth of the collective unconscious.
Okay. Yeah, hold it.
Did you know you're missing a picture?
I wonder.
That one was not on the DVD.
This one is inspired by the possible future history of the labyrinth of the collective unconscious.
And that's the
Searching for the stars.